Very good evening. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Chapter 7, the Yoga of Jnana, knowledge of Nirgun Brahma and Vijnana, that is knowledge of manifest divinity. Condemnation of men of demonical nature and praise of devotee is what we will be learning as described by Lord Shri Krishna. So let us continue from where we stopped. Chapter 7, verse 14. For this most wonderful Maya, that is veil of mind, consisting of the three gunas, modes of nature, is extremely difficult to break through. Those, however, who constantly adore me alone are able to cross it. So in the last satsangs, we have discussed about the qualities of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva, that is the three modes of material nature. Now here Lord Shri Krishna is actually again reiterating that how difficult it is for one to be able to cross over the veil of Maya. So let us understand in detail who is this Maya, what is this veil, and why is it so difficult for one to cross over that veil. For this most wonderful Maya, that is the veil of mind. See, he's telling the wonderful Maya, which is the veil of mind. He's not saying Maya is me. He's saying it's a veil of veil. Maya is like a veil of mind. So that veil of mind means it's a veil which he has created. Again, Lord himself is not doing it. He's just a substratum. But everything is created by Prakriti. So he's saying, for this most wonderful Maya, veil of mind, consisting of three gunas, that is the modes of nature. Consisting of three gunas. What is the modes of nature? Which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So the modes of nature operate in the material domain. It is under the realm of Prakriti. We say Mother Nature. Now what happens to us? Every individual has these three gunas, operating within them at all times. And because it is the Kali Yuga, we are in the Kali Yuga now. So, forget about Sattva, the mode of goodness is out of the window. Very few people are Rajasic, but 99% of this world operates in the mode of Tamas. That is inertia, lethargy, indiscipline, ugliness, black-heartedness, evilness, you name it, everything. Everything that is demonical is within them. Why? Because we are in the age of Kali Yuga. But what is the Lord telling? See, our body, the gunas, see, this body is in the material realm. What is that we are trying to learn? We are trying to understand that I am not this body. I am the spirit. Spirituality is all about that. To understand I am not the body and realize that divinity who truly I am. But given that we are in the material, domain, we become conscious about the body. The Jiva is attached to the body or the Atma, right? Within, we say the self. The self is embodied. So what happens? It believes that I am this body. So it forgets its true nature, which is the divine nature. And so what happens to us? Anything that we come in contact, that is the sense objects. When our senses come in contact with the sense object, either of the three gunas, dominates, or one of the gunas is acting or two of the gunas is acting. When you see something that is favorable, you're going to feel good. Oh yeah, something is nice. Or sometimes you will want to do something good in this world. So your goodness may act at that moment in time. Or you will say, oh, I want to go and earn, I want to make $1 million. Then the guna that is predominant and is acting is Rajas. That is Rajasic in nature, which is action oriented. It wants to go achieve, it wants to go conquer, it wants to go win. And then comes the third guna, when you feel, oh God, this world is bad, I hate that person, this person has done something to me, I wish the person, also gets back the same lesson. Those are demonic nature. That is, tamas, which is evil. And what are we doing? We have everything that is negative. That's what goes on within us. And today that goodness doesn't exist. So what are we thinking about the person? That person also has to suffer. I've gone through this pain. So the other person also has to, suffer through that pain. But what is the divine nature teaching us? And that is what Lord Shri Krishna teaches. He says, no matter how the world behaves with us, why do we become like them? We have to become, we have to be our godly self. Why are we becoming a demon? Why are we becoming evil? So, isn't it our self-effort to raise ourselves, raise our bar, and make us evolve on the path of godliness? So, if we are, operating at the level of Rajas, we have to go to Sattva. Why Sattva is required? Because only through goodness can you reach God. Please remember, you have to transcend the three gunas also to attain the divine being. That is Lord Shri Krishna. You have to transcend your mind, body, the senses and the three gunas and cross over the veil of Maya. And once you transcend all that, then only you can achieve the devotion, prema, unto the lotus feet of the divine Lord Shri Krishna. But at that time, even the knowledge is something that you have to give up. Knowledge is also not going to be any use to you at that moment in time. You have to go with absolute humility and humbleness, giving up the ego of I, that I know this, I am knowledgeable, I can rattle off Bhagavad Gita. No, nobody can rattle off Bhagavad Gita. Please remember, I keep saying this throughout my satsangs, that this body is just an instrument. The words are of the divine Lord's wisdom. I don't have this knowledge. He just, when I am reading the words, the Lord himself is expounding through my mouth. That which has to flow from my mouth, it comes out. So I cannot say I own this knowledge or I know Bhagavad Gita. That is called ego of knowledge. And that is also something that we have to chuck it out. And then only attain. Then only we'll be able to attain devotion, single pointed devotion and absolute, unconditional pure love unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. Otherwise, bhakti is not going to be, you can't achieve bhakti otherwise. So, here he is telling why it is so important to overcome these three gunas. So, when you understand the truth about what does guna do, how do this human body operates in the mode of material nature, it is nothing but modes of nature. That is what is Prakriti's creation, and we are all performing in that. So how do you raise yourself? My Guruji even today was, he has written a very beautiful post on the Facebook, and he said, it is only us who have to raise our bars. We have to set our standards very high. If you try to compare yourself with somebody else's achievement, then you're not setting a bar higher for yourself. You're actually trying to compete with that person. And in that, what happens, one is we get into the mode of competition. Second, our focus from what we have to achieve goes away. Why? Because we want to outdo that individual whom we believe we are competing with. That is because our mind has drawn parallels or comparisons from what you believe that you want to achieve. It's the mind's creation. So there is no point in trying to, look at another human being or another individual in this world. Please remember, everybody's success, failure, all determines on that individual alone and that individual's karma. There is no question of you interfering in somebody else's karma. Why are you trying to get yourself entangled or bound by someone else's karma? You don't have to. So don't get into this mode of competing and comparison. It's not going to help you at all. So who should you compete who should you compete with? You have to compete with your own self. Which means if I'm able to achieve a mark of 5, say in whatever that I am doing, then can I raise my bar to 10? and then to 20, then to 30. So I have to set my standards very high, and then, set that as my goal and go after it. It's, when you look at another individual or someone else and trying to compete, you're losing the focus of reaching your destination or your goals. This is what happens to our, individual. So first you have to become the best version of yourself. To become the best version of yourself, you have to strive hard, only through self-effort. We have learned this in the earlier chapters, where Lord Shri Krishna has very clearly explained, only through self-effort can one raise himself. One can lift himself up. Otherwise, you can't. Yesterday my Guruji was teaching something very beautiful to me. He says, the mind is at this level, there is two things that happens. One, you can go this way, or one, you can go this way, upward or downward. Right now you are here, you're feeling, I don't like this world, I don't like to do this. Whatever that you think you are going through, feeling completely irritated, you feel dejected, or I don't want this world, this is not the way I think things should happen, why is this happening to me? These are all our questions. We are constantly harassed by our mind with so many things. Why? Because our senses are running outside. Everything that it comes in contact with, a reaction is happening. We are judging people. We're trying to, create, speculate. What is the person thinking? Forget about you thinking, your mind trying to think or do something about your own self. It's also trying to think about what another person's mind is thinking. Can you imagine? So where is your focus on yourself? We have gone off that path. Our focus should be single pointed, and that is what is missing. So how do you train your mind? So my Guruji was saying, see, when you are here, you have to only look at like this, lift yourself up. And that is through self-effort. Until an individual do not put their self-effort, nothing can be achieved in this world. This is the reality of life. This is the supreme truth. Lord Shri Krishna is teaching the most beautiful thing, very simple things, but that is the most difficult for a human being to do and achieve. Someone was teaching a management students about some of the lessons of Bhagavad Gita and how that can be applied in their own, lesson in the MBA. And in that, this professor is telling something very beautiful. He said, what we do for these MBAs, you are all in MBA. He said, we make manas, buddhi, ahankara grow. He gave a very beautiful definition for MBA. Manas means mind, buddhi is intellect, B stands for buddhi, that's a Sanskrit word, which is intellect, and A stands for arrogance and ahankara. Ahankara is ego and arrogance. We bloat that up more for you. On the contrary, where Lord Shri Krishna, he calls it a cookbook. Why? It's a basic, simple recipes, how to control your mind, how to become a good human being, how to be divine. So he's saying, first, if you become good human being, only then can you then think about evolving on the path of attaining realization, God realization, or you want to call it, I want to attain samadhi, I want to reach, get liberated, whatever that you want to attain. But first, the criteria, the basic requirement is to become a good human being. Where is the goodness today? You take any human being, everybody has their own flaws. And the worst part is, when you have the grace of your Guru, you need to listen to that divine being a little bit. Because the real master, helps, he's very compassionate, he's very kind, he knows what is going to happen to that devotee, part of their destiny. So the Guru always tells you, either you do this or don't do this. The Guru gives you an advance warning, if I may have to say that. He says, the weather condition is going to be bad, so stay indoors. Which means you need to just listen to him, accept it and don't refute him. And when you do not listen to him and then go for a holiday, of course your holiday is going to be destroyed. He had already predicted that the weather conditions are going to be bad. Then why did you go against him? Then what happens is your destiny is taken over. Then the veil, this is called Maya. The veil of mind then puts onto, brings up all the difficulties for you. Hasn't he actually tried saving you? But who's gone and put himself or herself in that ditch. You yourself. You know why? Because we don't listen to the Guru's command. We listen to our mind more than we listen to the Guru's command. We fall out of that grace. You know, falling out of grace is very easy, but having that grace and evolving on this path is very, very difficult. Yesterday I was asking my Guruji some very interesting questions. I said, how can, when the student learns from you, how can they fall off the path? How can someone go off the grace? He says that is because this is Kali Yuga. A mind state comes where you're filled with inertia, and that inertia in an individual does not allow that person to rise himself. It does not. But you have to put extreme self-effort. It is just that little effort, but we think that that effort is very difficult for us to put. You know why? Because we have already made it like that. The mind has made you think like that. The mind says, oh no, it's too much of effort. You can't put that effort. You can't get up in the morning. No, you know what? You shouldn't listen. You have to go because there is something that you think you are going to get. So the mind has already given you an imagination of the beautiful holiday that you're going to go and enjoy. But was your holiday really beautiful? Of course not. You did not anticipate the kind of weather conditions that are going to be. There's going to be a tornado. There's going to be a tsunami. But you didn't listen. Now what are you going to do? You're going to suffer. You're going to get stuck there. You're waiting. When will this tornado come down? When will this tsunami go back? Finish it off. And then when can I come back? That is the condition you will be in. Why don't we listen? This is what happens. But who gave you that beautiful picture? That's called the mind, which created false imagination. And what is that called? Maya, illusion. It's a veil. The veil of the divine Lord. My veil. He says, veil of mind, Maya of mind. And what happens? Maya gives you the beautiful, beautiful pictures. And it's already a story and imagination. Oh, if I go on this beautiful holiday, I'm going to see the beautiful places. I'm going to have nice time. I'm going to eat nice food. I'm going to be doing some nice shopping. How rosy the picture appears. But is the imagination and the reality are the same thing? No. What you saw, what Maya created is called illusion first. And then the reality is you become delusional. You don't know what hit you. And that is called destiny. And what happens? You let the destiny take over. You did not allow the divine Lord to override the destiny for you. I mean the Guru. He wants to take care of you. He's supporting you. Yet you throw away that grace. Why? Because you listen to your mind. So please stop listening to your mind. Don't let your being operate in the modes of material nature. Modes of nature, which is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Sattva is still fine. Rajas, at least you're doing action. You're working, doing your duty. But don't get into the zone of Tamas at all. So my Guruji said, it is a state of being which is filled with inertia. He said, we have actually entered the Kali Yuga now. We are full-fledged into Kali Yuga. People are not going to be working. They are going to be completely filled with Tamas. And he was telling, you will have to work. You cannot... If you want to attain God realization, you want to serve the purpose of the divine Lord, you have to put, arduous effort. Through your self-effort, arduous effort, and you have to raise yourself, set your bars very high. He said, you can be better than me. That is the most beautiful thing my Guruji taught. He said, why do you think you can't achieve? Why do you think that I am the ultimate? Why do you think you can't do better than me? He says, every Guru's aspiration is to see their, disciples becoming very successful, doing better than the Guru themselves. I was literally in tears. But that's so sweet, for my Guruji to tell me that. But how do I reach that? How should I get there? It's when I put that effort. I cannot give reasons. Today the whole world is giving reasons for their failures, for not doing something, for being indisciplined, and you can blame n number of things. There are reasons so umpteen. You can give too many reasons. Oh, today it's pandemic, I don't feel like it, I don't like my boss, I don't like my job. We can say too many things, we can give too many reasons. But can you give one good reason why you should do it, why you should become disciplined, why you should do things in time? Why getting up in the morning is very important. Doing your exercise, to following a routine is extremely important. No, we don't pay importance or attention to that. Consistency is key. But do we ever, if you go back and look yourself, do we ever realize that we are not consistent in doing anything at all? We just live our day or our life as we feel like, as things happen. There's no discipline at all. Why is this happening? It's because we are, it's from here, we are not rising up or we are going down. And how does this happen? Because we succumb to the mind. Why should we succumb to the mind? You need to ask this question. So when you understand the nature of the mind, how does your mind work within, then you will not follow your mind. You will definitely make your mind your best friend, and you will override the mind. See the reins which Lord Sri Krishna is holding in his hands. He's telling Arjuna, give the reins in my hands. Listen to me. He will then control the mind. Then you become one with the divine Lord. Then the divine Lord takes charge of you. Then you are you're on autopilot. But for that, you have to give up your ego, that ahankara. You have to give up your, that thing, I am the body, I am the mind, I. You have to give up all that. You have to surrender. You have to strive really hard. And if you don't, then you will also become a crass human being. Then what happens? You will get bound by your destiny, karma will take over, and you're going to live a very miserable life. Then you can't live a God-pleasing life at all. So here Lord Sri Krishna is saying why it is so difficult for a human being to cross over. So he's saying, for this most wonderful Maya, that is veil of mind, the Maya consists of the three gunas, modes of nature, is extremely difficult to break through. It's extremely difficult to break through. Your Lord himself is saying how difficult it is to break through. Why? Because that's an illusion. We say, Maya Jal. Jal is what? It's like a veil. Have you seen how, fishing is done? You put that fishing net, that's the veil you throw. And then the fishes think there's something and they come and get caught themselves in that veil. That's entanglement. Same thing is here. It's extremely difficult to break through that veil. Those, however, who constantly adore me alone are able to cross it. And he is very clearly saying, who can cross it? Those, however, who constantly adore me alone are able to cross it. So now let me ask a question here. Why do you think, in this world, before the question, in this world, if you take 99.999% of the world, cannot constantly think about the divine Lord. No way. They are caught in the veil of Maya. Now what happens? He's giving a remedy. And what is the remedy here? Those, however, who constantly adore me alone are able to cross over. Now that adoration also reduces or goes away. Like example, I told you that someone who has been very, good devotee, a good disciple, falls off the path or falls off the grace. On his own or her, on her own. Why does that happen? They leave and go away. They don't believe whatever happens, and then they get carried away by their mind's creation of imaginations, illusions, delusions, you name it. But why does the grace fall off? The grace is always there. It is you who don't take the grace. Why? Because the mind doesn't want you to do this. It doesn't want you to cross over. The mind's job or the mind's nature is to pull you down. It doesn't want you to rise. It doesn't want you to attain the divine Lord. Please remember, Lord Indra is always going to do something about it. Yesterday, my Guruji was reading a very beautiful scripture on Narad Pancharth. And in that it is mentioned, it is not the Indradev who's creating these kind of things, that's the Lord of the mind, but it is Brahmaji who's creating all sorts of things. And your mind, is at all times in that frustration, it's irritation, it's agitated, it's thinking too much. It cannot rest or focus on one thing. The mind is like it's like a whirl, something like a whirlwind. It's constantly battling thoughts. There are too many thoughts coming in, and your mind is not allowing you to stay at peace. It's not allowing you to rest. It's throwing too many things at once, and you don't know how to focus. You're unable to focus. Why? Because you've never practiced to train or control your mind. And Lord Shri Krishna says the only way you can cross over this is when you constantly adore me alone. He's saying very clearly, constantly adore me alone. So there is nobody else who can save you from this, and only when you do that, you will be able to cross over it. Now, how does that work? See, our focus has to be single pointedness. My Guruji has always taught something very beautiful. Don't get attached to anybody. Don't get attached to anything in this world. And then you have to be constantly lost in yourself. Be in a blissful state. Be lost in yourself. Love yourself. God is within you. It's not outside. And you have to be one with that. The oneness with that is extremely important. And you have to only constantly think about the one thing. Chant your mantra. See, Guru mantras are given. Why? Because so that our mind can constantly chant the mantra. Because when the thoughts are coming, you can just ignore the thoughts. And when you constantly keep chanting the Guru mantra that is given to you, then you're at least lost in that. So what is he saying? Constantly adore me alone. So at that time, you're only thinking about the Divine Lord. You're taking His name constantly. And only then will you be able to cross over it. Otherwise, no, you're going to be entangled like every other human being. Have you seen people? They're always in a miserable condition. It's only, the happiness is always short-lived. You know why? If you get something nice, or if you're, given to eat, something good happens according to your mind, something which is very favorable to you, then you're going to be extremely happy, you're going to be smiling. But that's also very short-lived. It doesn't happen, more than that. It's not, the constancy doesn't exist. There's no consistency to happiness at all. Again, I'm using the word happiness, but happiness is just a state of mind. It's about being blissful. It's about just living in the moment. It doesn't happen at all with us. We're always dissatisfied. Why? Because we're driven by our desires. It could be, I want to wear good clothes, I want to wear saris, jewelry, you name it. I want a good job, I want money, I want to travel. Our desires are insatiable. So when you have so many desires, where is the question of being blissful? I'll tell you something very beautiful that happened. We were journeying somewhere in Maharashtra. Went to a very divine place. And the first thing that hit my eyes was the dirt. Everything was filled with plastics. People have thrown plastics in a very beautiful, divine place. The whole mountain was covered with plastics around, and it disturbed me. I actually got very angry. It irritated me. But why should it happen? Why should I get irritated? Yeah, I saw plastics, but that is how it is there. So why can't I just accept? So what was missing in me was equanimity of mind. See, it is Kali Yuga. Things are programmed like that. But my Guruji or Lord Shri Krishna here has only taught one very beautiful lesson. You become disciplined. You don't do that. But I can't change others. I can be the change I want to see. There is a board written, that please do not litter this place. Don't throw plastics. This is a green zone. All that is written. But do you think human beings do listen? No. Why? Because they're given into their modes of nature. And what is the nature right now? It is tamas. So you just want to be mean and put plastics and destroy something? Why wouldn't you go and throw plastics in your own house, in your own temple? No, that they will not do. But if you don't consider this world as your own, then you're going to think, I don't care. It's not my duty or my responsibility. It is someone else's responsibility. The government has to take it. The government is not looking at it. So we give reasons, we justify our actions. But then my Guruji said something beautiful. See, you want to establish something beautiful, you make it happen. But there's no point in getting disturbed. Why are you losing your peace? Do you think the most beautiful divine being who's seeing all this, watching here, doesn't know all this? But he's lost in his own self. He's not trying to change the world. See, again, the most important verse here is self-effort. My Guruji also wrote this post. It's about you. You have to raise yourself with your own self-effort and through gradual practice. Please remember, this is a very, very important lesson. And how much effort are you going to make to lift yourself up? If you don't, then nobody will. God helps themselves. God helps those who help themselves. So if I don't put an effort, do you think God is going to help me? So here also, what is Lord Shri Krishna doing? He's teaching Arjuna. But at the end of the day, it is Arjuna's job to lift the bow and arrow and shoot. And then Lord Shri Krishna is going to, work with him. But if Arjuna says, I will not do it, then do you think the Lord is going to work with him? No, he can't. Then who takes over? Maya, modes of nature. So my Guruji was saying, everybody is bound by that nature. If that individual doesn't make a difference, doesn't put effort to change themselves, you can't do anything. Like my Guruji constantly teaches all of us all the beautiful things. It's about how do you always be your good self. But anger comes. I got irritated when I saw those plastics. Yeah, I want to save the world. And then he had written a very beautiful post. We all think we want to do something. We have a great plan to save the world. But unfortunately, please remember, everything happens with the will of the divine Lord. This is what he was telling. It is God's will alone. It's God's sweet will. I can't do anything about it. But I have to become the best version of who I am. I have to put my effort towards God realization or self-realization. And whatever the job that I have, my duty, I have to be very truthful to it. I have to be very sincere and do my duties. Serve the purpose of my existence. That is what I got to do. I cannot blame for what is happening. That is how it's programmed. So it is in nobody's hands. Please remember. So why do we think that it is in our hand to do something to change the world? The world is anyway going to operate in its own way. It is already programmed. Nobody can, control it or do anything about it. But yes, you can control your own destiny by putting self-effort to override that destiny. You have to put a lot of effort. That is what my Krishna Guruji taught. He said, to override the destiny, to get over the destiny, you have to put a lot of effort. And then the Lord is with you. Then you will be able to cross over. Then nothing touches you. You will be then able to live like the lotus leaf. It is untouched by the water on it. That is how Lord Shri Krishna lives. Even though being the epitome of everything, he doesn't get attached to anything. He's always in his own blissful state. He's lost in his self alone, but he does all his duties as the body is, prescribed to do. Whatever the duties that body has to do, he does all of that. He has done all of that. So what makes you think I don't want to do, or I don't like it like that? So we can never be, we cannot be happy in our world. There's no peace or tranquility that will come to us. And the next most important thing is we are going to be constantly bickering, feeling bitter about everything. And then we'll die. And what happens? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind? That's a question we all have to ask. What is the kind of life you want to lead and set an example to others? How should the world look at you? Yeah, when you ask all this, then you will have to answer the question yourself. And when you answer, then you will work accordingly. See, my Guruji says, to become, when you think you don't like all of this, then you have to become desireless. Then go away, like all those great sages did. But can you do it today, in today's day and age? No, it's not possible. Like Samarth Ramdas Maharaj, even though Shivaji Maharaj would, bring all the beautiful things, the best food and everything, and would offer to Samarth Ramdas, but Ramdas Maharaj always will get his disciples to go beg for food. And whatever the disciples would bring, then he will make if somebody has given him some wheat flour or whatever flour, he will make bhakri, and the basic bhakri, and give everybody. That is what he would eat. And whatever Shivaji Maharaj would have offered, he would distribute that to everybody else, everyone around. And you know what Shivaji Maharaj did? He was the greatest disciple. Whatever the leftovers that his Gurudev has kept, he would eat that leftover bhakri as the prasad, blessing from his Gurudev. Can we be that today? It's very difficult, we are all egoistic. Oh, I'll not eat somebody else's, jhuta we say. Oh, somebody has already eaten and given. No, that's prasad. In an ancient times, it is said that when the Guru, everybody will wait. When the Guru is eating, the disciples will serve the Gurudev first. And once the Guru finishes eating, whatever is the little food that is left over in the Gurudev's plate, they will pick that and first eat that as prasad, the blessing. You know why that is done? So that our DNA, when we eat that blessed food, what is the leftover from the Gurudev, it is said that that blessing within us will help us purify our being, and we'll get the qualities of our Guru, who is a divine Lord himself. He is Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. Parabrahma has manifested in the form of a Guru. So he is the God himself. That is why it is done. But today, tell me, anybody does that? No, nobody does. And people don't even have an idea. We live in our own idealistic world and we think we are perfect. So that is why he's saying, the mantra here which Lord Shri Krishna has very nicely said, those however constantly adore me alone are able to cross over. So please constantly adore him. And everybody doesn't believe in Lord Shri Krishna, then what happens? So 99.99% of the world are entangled in the veil of Maya. So they live a life of illusion. That's what happens. Those whose wisdom have been carried away by Maya and are of demonic nature, such foolish and vile men of evil deeds do not adore me. What did I tell you just now? Absolutely. So how many people do adore Lord Shri Krishna? Very few. Very few. And that is the problem. And the 99.99% of the people don't adore him. So where is the question of you will be able to redeem yourself or cross over, the three gunas and the Maya and everything? No, you can't. He's very clearly explaining in this verse. Those whose wisdom has been carried away by Maya. We get lost in Maya. It's very easy to get lost in Maya. I'll tell you very simple. Your child is sick, Oh, you're so attached to your child that, oh God, my child is sick and I don't know what to do. You're calling the doctors, you're going to the hospital, you're doing too many things. And then your love, overpowers. And then even when you're being told, don't worry, things will be fine, everything will get fine, you just focus and surrender to the Divine Lord. No, your mind will not allow you to do that. You think you're responsible. And you think, oh, I have to, make sure that my son, daughter, whoever becomes well. We are always worried about, and we live in that we live in nervousness, anxiety drives us. But when you have the faith on the Divine Lord, then why should you worry about? But that is what is missing. And that is called Maya. That's an entanglement, that's an attachment, and that's a bondage. You can never get out of the delusion. You think you're responsible. Or even say, assume, I have to go, get my children admitted into school. So I'm going to go to 10 schools and figure out, I'm anxious. Oh God, I don't know which school I'll get, what I'll get. See, what my Guruji teaches, he teaches something very beautiful. He says, put your foot forward, do your part of the deal. If you have to go to 100 schools, go and get the application submitted. Why are you bothered which school the child is going to get into? Don't think you are responsible for your child. Your job is to do alone. Ultimately, please remember, the Father of this universe, the one who has created you, has already programmed. He has already made sure that your daughter has to get whichever school she has to. It's already there. But your job is only to do alone. Worrying, being anxious, thinking that, oh, I am responsible. My child, what is this ownership of my? No, nobody is yours. You're just a means. And the Father who has your child, you're also his child. Your child also is his child. First of all, it's not even your child. So why do we take this ownership? That is what we have to ask. So, those whose wisdom has been carried away by Maya, I just gave an example. This is the way your wisdom has been carried away by Maya. No way you can understand this truth. I'll just give a very simple example. Many years ago, I used to be very worried, every time my mother would call, this body's mother. Oh, what is happening to her? Oh, she's sick, I have to call somebody, doctor and all. One day when my Guruji gave me this very beautiful lesson, he said, what makes you think you're responsible for your mother or your father? Who do you think? You think they are your parents? And obviously it didn't enter me many years, but much later when this lesson hit me really hard, he just said, I am there for, please remember, he drew something very beautifully. He said, this is Lord Shri Krishna and this, your mother, father, you and this entire universe, you're all his children alone. So what makes you think you are responsible for them? You're not. And that is, see, it has to hit you really hard. And that time he said, just surrender to him. What he has to do with them, how he has to take care, is his problem. Why are you bothered? You just do your part of the deal. You don't have to get attached. You don't have to do anything. Your duties are important. Do it with detachment. Don't bind yourself to anybody and anyone. Think everybody's, parents are your parents also. There should not be any special, exclusiveness. And that is called the wisdom. And when this wisdom goes away, then you are of the demonic nature. He says very beautiful here, those whose wisdom have been carried away by Maya and of demonic nature, such foolish and vile men of evil deeds do not adore me. Such foolish and vile men. Foolish. Why is he saying foolish? He actually is saying something very interesting. So what is the Lord saying? Everybody is a fool except for the very few devotees. See, God gives everybody an opportunity to adore him. He's not saying, no, you're not my child, or you're special, you're somebody, I don't like you. The Lord doesn't differentiate. Everybody is equal to him. But the foolish men who don't adore him, who think that he doesn't exist, who are lost into the Maya, what can he do? So what happens? And the foolish and the vile men of evil deeds do not adore me. So please remember, then forever you're going to be stuck in this Maya and you're going to be coming back again and again, which is what is called the cycle of birth and death because of your own karma. So there is no way redemption going to come to you. So evolve. So what is the most important thing? Adore Divine Lord. The only way to get out of it, it is through self-effort. It's only through God realization or self-realization. And the one you have to constantly adore is Lord Shri Krishna alone, nobody else. It's very clearly mentioned in this verse. So we'll stop here and continue from verse 16 in our next satsang. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha, Om Shri Gurudev Datta, Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Digambara Digambara, Shripad Vallabha Digambara, Om Shri Krishna Guru Nathanata, Shri Guruve Namaha, Om Devi Durgai Namaha, Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu, Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.